Hello, beautiful soul. I invite you to just take a moment and arrive with me. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. What I am going to share is not something that you learn. It is something to feel, something to remember. There was a time when you knew how to pray. Not with words, not with folded hands or borrowed language, but with your whole body being. A frequency that hummed through your chest before you had words for what your heart was already saying. Somewhere along the line, that knowing grew quiet. So many of us were taught to perform prayer, to recite someone else's words in someone else's voice, to kneel at the right time, to bow at the right angle, and to speak the right phrases, as if prayer were a kind of transaction, as if the divine were somewhere far away, waiting to be reached by the right combination of effort and language. And somewhere inside of that performance, something tender was covered over. Not faith, something more intimate than faith. Your body's own memory of what prayer actually is. Your heart knows. Your nervous system knows. Your soul knows. Prayer was never words directed upward. It was always a frequency radiating outward from the center of you through the center of everything. But the teaching said, speak. The teaching said, ask. The teaching said, be worthy, and perhaps you will be heard. And so prayer became effort. Prayer became striving. Prayer became, for so many of us, another quiet way of feeling that we were somehow not enough. Can you feel this, beloved? The tightness that can come when you try to pray. The way the chest holds itself as if love itself has become something you must earn. This is not your failing. That is the memory of something sacred being asked to move through a channel that was never quite wide enough for it. The channel of words, the channel of worthiness, the channel of the mind trying to reach what only the heart can touch. Prayer was never meant to travel upward. It was meant to radiate outward, like the hum of a string that has been called into resonance by presence itself. And now, beloved, I want to take you a little deeper, not into what prayer is, you already feel that, into what the heart becomes when prayer returns to its original nature. The heart is not a metaphor, it is an instrument, not an instrument that plays music, an instrument that plays frequency, that radiates coherence and generates a field so vast, so precise, that it reaches where words cannot, into the cells, into the nervous system, into the spaces between things where the divine quietly waits. When the heart is coherent, when it is no longer divided against itself, no longer caught between wanting and fearing, it begins to hum. Not with the sound you hear with your ears, with the vibration you feel with your whole body, a frequency that moves through you the way breath moves through a flute, not because you push it, but because you have become open enough, hollow enough to let it pass through. This is the secret the mystics carried, the ones who knelt in caves and deserts and forests, not to speak, but to resonate. They did not pray with words. They prayed with their whole being. They allowed themselves to become the prayer. And the Divine Mother, she is the one who tunes the instrument, not from outside, from within. She is the frequency itself, the original vibration from which all hearts are made. When you soften past the effort of praying and allow yourself to be prayed, to be the instrument through which the sacred hums, she moves through you, not as a visitor, as the very substance of who you are. You are not a separate being trying to pray yourself into connection. You are a sacred vessel through which the divine is already praying herself into the world. So what happens when prayer becomes vibration? When the heart stops performing and starts resonating? Three things, three seeds. The first, the body softens. Not because you tell it to, because frequency does what words cannot. It reaches the nervous system directly, the vigilant parts of you that have been bracing, holding, and quietly preparing. And they begin to recognize it, not as a command to relax, as a reminder that they are held. Coherence is not something you achieve. It is something the heart remembers when the mind grows still enough to allow it. The second, the field expands. Your heart, when it resonates at its natural frequency, creates a field, vast, magnetic, alive. This is not poetry. This is the nature of the heart. A coherent heart generates a field that touches everything around it. People feel it. Animals feel it. The earth feels it. You become a living prayer, not because you are speaking sacred words, but because your very presence has become the frequency of love. The third, the boundaries dissolve. The prayer that was once directed upward from the small self to a distant divine becomes a circle, a current. The heart hums, the divine moves through that hum, and the hum returns to the heart as presence. You are not reaching for the divine. The divine is reaching through you. You are not calling to the mother. The mother is calling through you, using your heart as her instrument, your breath as her rhythm, your life as her song. This is what it means to become the prayer, not to speak to the divine, but to let the divine speak through you, through your coherence, through your softening, through the quiet, luminous frequency of a heart that has stopped striving and started resonating. I invite you now to simply feel this, not to understand it, not to hold on to the words, but to notice the hum that may already be stirring in your chest. Faint, perhaps, unfamiliar, perhaps, but real. You do not need to amplify it. You do not need to sustain it. Simply notice it. The way you would notice a heartbeat that you have been too busy to feel. It has always been there, beneath every performance, beneath every borrowed prayer, beneath every moment you believed yourself to be separate from the divine. Your heart has never stopped humming. I invite you to just listen for a moment of silence, to stay with it, not to analyze it, to let it resonate through your whole being. Let your body enjoy this frequency. And if you feel called to walk deeper into this remembering, the Woven Way is open to you, a community of souls learning to become the prayer together, gathering each Sunday in presence and practice. You are welcome there. And with that, beautiful soul, I send you love, I send you peace, and I send you blessings. Namaste.